You're listening to The Noon Show on Good Time Oldies 1290 and 102.7 WIRL.
All right, welcome back. It's time for our regular Facets of FS segment. Joining us now is Chuck Spencer, and he's with GROWMARK, Director of Governmental and Corporate Relations. Chuck, how are you today?
No, doing really good. It'd be nice if it were a little warmer, but hey, it's winter, right?
It is, as it does come with this time of year, unfortunately, and it's really good timing that we get to talk today, the same day, and not too long after the new Congress was sworn in. So a lot of eyes are going to be on this one just to see what comes about, not just for agriculture, I'm guessing.
That is correct. Yeah, that's a historic day. Whenever you elect a speaker and they take the House of Representatives, a lot of them have just been sworn in, taking their oath of office today. They're having receptions on and in Capitol Hill for the newly elected members of Congress and the Senate. They're organizing, and in fact, as we're speaking right now, there's an election for the Speaker of the House that's being taken right now on the House floor.
Yeah, I was just wondering, I assume it's going to be Speaker Boehner, but if it's not, that could really, I would think that would send quite a message of maybe things are going to be changing for the next couple of years.
Well, there's a message that the conservatives are trying to send within the Republican Party, and I know that just prior to us talking here, that there was 23 votes for someone else other than Boehner or Pelosi. Now, were Speaker Boehner not to be reelected, that account would have to go up to nearly 35, where someone would vote for someone other than Boehner or Pelosi, and it looks unlikely that will happen. But, you know, we might remember back in 2013, I think there were between 12 and 13 individuals who chose not to vote for Speaker Boehner. And at this point in time, we've had new members of Congress elected, and I think that, you know, as always with our political system, it's a time for messaging and sending messages and posturing for what they feel will be a priority for this coming session.
Well, there are still plenty of priorities. 2014, we saw a farm bill get signed into law, and then we also have WIRL that hopefully we can get some funding for that now that has been passed. But there's still plenty of things. 2015, one of them that I think of is the highway bill. You know, there's so many parts of agriculture that depend on transportation. So we got water last year, but the highway bill, you know, it's kind of hard to even make a list on what's more important or what's least important, because that highway bill is a big one. We haven't talked about it very much, but I assume that's going to be a big one at some point this year.
Oh, yes, it will be, and it's always important when we discuss our transportation system now in the roads. As you pointed out, we took action on the waterways, but we will have to carry the effort forward to make sure that we get new 1,200-foot locks and that they don't lose track of the funding increase that we were fortunate to receive by accepting increased fees on our gallons of fuel that we burn on the river. And that's the same funding mechanism that you would use on roadways, DeLoss. We have the motor fuel tax that's put forward. We all know that consumers are benefiting from the decline in oil prices, which translates right to the pump from the standpoint of decreased costs, costing half as much approximately than even as recent as a year ago or so. And when you have that type of decrease, what you just pointed out is it becomes a very big discussion point. We need to improve our bridges. Our road and infrastructure is being challenged because we've had a decline in total fuel sales because we're more efficient equipment on the highways. And do you continue to do it with a motor fuel tax? Or how do you tax and have alternative fuels such as hydrogen or natural gas or electric vehicles pay their fair share for utilizing our roadway infrastructure?
I never thought about it much until I started crossing the Illinois River on a regular basis, just how expensive these programs have to be and how many of them there must be all over the country, whether you're a committee chair or not, or a subcommittee chair, but somebody in some district has a priority list on things they have to get done. That can be a pretty long list, can't it?
It is a long list. I mean, we rely on and utilize our roadways on a daily basis, and we take them for granted. You know, you drive down them, you really don't think about it. You put fuel in your vehicle and you move on. But each time we're fueling, we're paying a fee for utilizing the roadways. And then, as we know, you see improved 4 lanes. You had a 3rd lane bypass around metropolitan areas, and we're all excited about that. They're needed because of congestion and efficiencies we need to keep in our economy. At the same time, though, the last time the motor fuel tax was increased was 1993. And then and since that time, have had more of the vehicles, like I've talked to you about, with alternative fueling. So how is it that we go forward from here? And we've already seen the experiment of the discussion regarding a box that you would have that would calculate how many miles you've traveled, and then that would be a fee that you pay. No one wants to be tracked, but could there be some type of differential where alternative fuel vehicles pay on a reporting system? And of course, DeLoss, if you trade vehicles of any type, that odometer reading is recorded every time that vehicle changes hands, and it has to be accurate or you're going to be held accountable for that. So there may be a way to do this, and I would anticipate that to start to creep in with some serious discussion in any type of transportation bill.
Yeah, the old days of Kurt Russell and used cars aren't there anymore, thankfully. And most people wouldn't get that reference, but you and I are old enough to remember stuff like that.
Well, the point is that now, what it used to be, you could roll your odometer backwards by putting it in reverse, and now it still tracks the forward movement. So, there is fun for that.
Yeah, that was the old Ferris Bueller effort. There's an Illinois reference for you. And is it more important for certain states, say, if they don't have income tax, where I assume they're making it up a lot of times on things like motor fuel?
Well, I think that what's important is, and what everyone wants to see, is that the tax that is collected for its specific purpose be used for this purpose. And I think that really we have seen some very clear messaging in this last election that voters want our political process to work. What does that mean, though? What does it mean to work? Well, that's to make advancements and make good decisions. Good decisions, I feel, and I think it could be argued very effectively, that good decisions are those in which you have school funding programs, fund schools. Motor fuel tax collected should go to roadways. Waterway fees that are collected should be spent on waterways. Otherwise, you start distorting the process in a very difficult and really improper fashion. So I think you're going to see some true alignment here with what Congress wants to put as a priority, a very strong focus on jobs, economic improvement, trade improvement, and to have competitive trade worldwide. Its focuses right on the transportation efficiencies of this country, getting our goods across our borders here to different countries and through the waterway channels that we have for export.
A lot of folks will be talking about tax credits again because of how it all went in the 11th hour or 11th hour and 59th minute in December. Is there a concern of tax credit fatigue? Could that be possible for some folks in D.C.?
Well, we might get tired of listening to certain topics, but I would say that the answer is no, there is not going to be tax credit fatigue. Credit fatigue in the sense that there's always this discussion of who receives what tax break and for what the specific purpose is. But I think what you'll find that there was clear agreement in the House of Representatives last year. They passed the Section 179 depreciation that small business owners can take advantage of. And, of course, in the agriculture community, they find that very important for the way they run their businesses. That was made permanent. It was the Senate that chose not to pick that up. And, of course, they came to that stalemate, which then resulted in the action you just talked about, a year extension. Now, what we have to, and that was only to 2014, because your point is that for 2015, we have to decide what to do with those 56 tax credits that were just extended through December 31st of 2014. We're already racking up days where we're without them. Biodiesel tax credit, Section 179, and I could go on and on. So I think that that's going to be a portion of the formula, but it's also going to be encompassed in the jobs and economics package. I think we're going to see some wrapping up of the issues to where a focus on jobs and the economic recovery and rebound, taking advantage of where we can with the strong dollar, domestic energy production, and then utilizing those strengths to improve our infrastructure, make that leap forward.
From your standpoint, I'm thinking about if you were to do a fly-in on behalf of cooperatives. Certainly you want to talk to committee chairs. How much do you need to talk to freshmen and make sure you're part of their learning curve, especially if they're going in? I'm thinking about taxes and the way people would vote on based on campaign promises, and especially for in the House where they're going to be reelected or up for reelection so quickly. How much do the freshmen, I guess, need to understand the way that hopefully things could work for at least the majority of people interested in agriculture?
We've already been making that outreach. In fact, that started as soon as we were informed of who won the election results. And what you do is we've made contact with them as well prior to them winning the election, because you want to be formative in their process of campaigning. You want to be present in messaging whenever they've settled on their staff, and then develop those relationships of information flow into their offices on what priorities are. We've developed our priorities here in December and have been transmitting them and sharing them with elected leaders, pointing out very much what you've just talked about. Because there's so many people, the average amount of representation that a member of Congress would have would be around between 650 and 700,000 people. And when you think about all the interests from rural areas of their district to urban areas, sewer system needs, road and infrastructure, basic needs of the low income, how we're going to tax policies, and then you've added agriculture on that palette. And they do have staff that's important and focused on that. We also have to have the attention and focus of the member of Congress themselves. And I think it's easier, as you know, in the states where agriculture is dominant, and of course in the Midwest we have that luxury. But we need to make sure that they're talking to colleagues in the Rocky Mountains and everywhere else along this nation to develop majorities and get these things passed. And I think that's being undertaken right now. And I know we're doing outreach, and a number of our colleagues are as well.
Our time always flies, but I always appreciate it, Chuck. Good to talk to you again. Happy New Year, and I'm sure we'll see you soon.
Thank you, DeLoss. Look forward to that as well.
Chuck Spencer is the Executive Director of Corporate and Government Relations for GROWMARK. You can follow GROWMARK on Twitter. It's pretty simple, @GROWMARK. And you can find him on Facebook, too, if you go to facebook.com/GROWMARK. Chuck's always a memorable one for me. He was my first in-studio interview, August 2 of 13. Stay tuned. We'll have more next on Good Time Oldies 1290 and 102.7 WIRL and 1290WIRL.com.